Hello students. You know that higher the population, lower will be the per capita income. Per capita income is an important indicator of development. On the other hand, if the population is very low in a region, it may hamper further development as there will be lack of human capital to exploit the resources. Now over here they are talking about per capita income. What does per capita income mean? Hamper, I told you, it means hindering, impeding or holding back. Over here the per capita income or the average income earned per person in a given area in a specified year. I repeat, per capita income or average income also it may be called. It is the income earned per person in a given area in a specified year. It is calculated by dividing the area's total income by its total population. It is calculated by dividing the area's total income by its total population. Now over here, what are they saying? I hope you'll understand now the meaning of per capita income. Higher the population, lower will be the per capita income. It is an important indicator of development. In one of the tables, we studied about per capita income, how the per capita income it was divided into ABC. On the other hand, if the population is very low, it will hold back. Hamper means hold back or hinder further development. As why? The reason being there is lack of human capital. Human capital is quite low. So the resources aren't exploited to the optimum capacity. This is what we mean by per capita income. Now, per capita income is not actually the real indicator of regional development. It is an important indicator. Now understand the difference, why it is not the real indicator and it is a, uh important indicator. It is the ratio basically between the country's national income and the total population. When we talk about people or the population, some of the population may be rich, some of them may be poor. It gives an idea about the average income, but it does not explain. Now, mind you, why is it not the real indicator of regional development? Because it does not explain how income is distributed among the people. It gives us an idea that this could be the average income, but it does not explain in detail. It is related only, now if you look at per capita, I had told you all in my previous lecture that the social and economic part of it is more important where the regional development is concerned. So this per capita income basically comes under which category? It comes in relation to only the economic aspect of the country, but it does not take into account the life expectancy, the health, the sex ratio, and sometimes the income increases because there is increase in the price of uh, things, price of commodities. So therefore I would say that this is not a real indicator, but it is an important indicator of regional development. Now coming for looking forward to wherein this is concerned, the population part of it is concerned or the physical factors is concerned. Now population also, I repeat, when we covered, then I'll go to land use and regional development. When we talk about population and development are closely interrelated. How are they interrelated? Because now if you look at it, then as we compared, higher the number of people, lower is the per capita income. So this shows there's low development happening. The quality of people, which includes their structure, literacy, also shows that there is development happening in the region. That's how we say population and development are related. When we talk in migration terms, this also affects the economic development. If people migrate to any region, it shows that there are employment opportunity. But with migration also I spoke about that it can create pressure. So how development and population are interrelated, wherein the employment opportunities are concerned, the economic development is concerned, the age group also is concerned. Now, age group of the people in the country also affects development. If there are more working class, then there's development. So migration, age group, economic development, the number of people over the quality of people living also depend on the population. So development and population are closely interrelated. Now when we talk about regions, there's physical region and there is political region. Now when we spoke about the physical region is basically where the land is divided because of the borders and all. So you have all the borders of the whether it's the mountains, they are natural regions. Basically, physical regions are natural regions and they remain unchanged. The physical regions remain unchanged. But the political regions, if you talk about, the political regions are created by man. So they are man-made. And these political regions, which for various reasons are divided, they are not permanent regions because they are built on the basis of administration, province or townships. So this is the difference between physical and political regions. Now we come to land use and regional development. When we analyze the existing pattern, when we analyze the existing patterns of land use in regions which are developed and regions which are not developed, we find the difference between the percentages of land's use. The demand for land changes due to the changing needs of the society. Now, there are existing patterns. You all are seeing somewhere land is used to the optimum, somewhere it's not being used. So we can see, we can actually calculate the difference between the percentage of these lands being used. Why can the demand for the land changes due to the changing needs of the society? It depends on the society as a whole. As socio-economic conditions change, land use keeps on changing. As socio-economic conditions change, land use keeps on changing. Rural as well as urban areas have land under different uses. Definitely rural areas, their requirements, their needs are different as compared to the urban areas. And the pressure in the urban areas is much more as compared to the rural areas. Because in rural areas, the land is used for agriculture purpose. In rural areas, much of the land is used for agricultural purpose and other uses have less land. On the other hand, in urban areas, now you look at the city side, much of the land remains under residential, where people are residing, commercial trade and business, industrial and other uses. The way the people of a region use their land will help the region develop faster. Now it depends on the population who is settled over there in that particular area, how well and how they use this particular land. So the way people, it depends on us how we develop or help the region develop faster, because how we use, how do we um, make optimum use of it also makes a lot of difference, or how you consume it. Consumption is also important. So as population and human aspirations increase, human aspirations, now what does this human aspirations over here mean? Human aspirations is basically your own personal desires, strong desires, the objective the goal, and basically they're strongly desired. So, as population and human aspirations increase, land becomes an increasingly scarce resource. Limited. It becomes limited. Scarce means limited. Deciding how to use land is important to reduce the negative effects of land use. Now, deciding how to use land. If land is used, if there is a land which can be fertile, if it's not used for agricultural purpose and it's used for commercial purpose, it does not get justified. That's what they are saying. Deciding how to use land is important. Now, who is to decide? The population living there in that particular region has to decide. Or else what will happen? There will be negative effects of land use. And to increase the efficient use of resources. Now, all the resources which are available surrounding your land or on the land also have to be used efficiently in a region with minimal effect. Efficient basically here, it's like, I would say, it's like functioning in a best possible way. So, to increase the efficient use of resources in a region with minimal effect on future generations. Now, how we use the land today will have a major impact on the future generation, or if it will affect the future generations. So, to reduce or to minimize the effects of the use of resources in a particular region, we have to be very conscious. They have to be used very efficiently. So, this is the relation between land use and regional development. Now, coming to this table. Over here, and when we come to this table, try this. Question number 6 is being deleted from your portion. So now they've given a table which talks about land. Look at the land use of the following regions and answer the following questions. Now this region has been divided into a table with various sections: arable land, land under permanent crops, land under permanent meadows and pastures, far big lands, okay, land under forest, other land, GDP, other land GDP in billion dollars, 2017. This table and the regions have been divided from A, B, C, D till L. Now over here, if you see, as the land is being divided, you all will realize that basically this land is talking about what? This table, what is it showing us? This table is basically talking about regions. So what does the table show? Over here the table shows us about regions. Next question over here they've asked, which region has the highest land use under agriculture? Now the highest land use under agriculture, look at the table, you will see the highest amount of usage of land under agriculture is where it is land C. It is land C. Then which region has the highest GDP? Over here, if you look at the table, look at the region over here, and next to it, see what is relating to various regions. Which region has the highest GDP? Over here, GDP, if you see, the highest is I. Look at the section under GDP and related to I. You will see I is the region. GDP, I told you. Which country has more land use under forests? Now, land under forests, go to that line, land under forest, see that section and see which is the line which has land under forest. If you look at it, you will realize region K. Now, over here, if you see, which region has highest land under use under the category other land? Now over here, when you go to the other land section, you look at, if you look at E, F, G, H, I, G. Over here, G is highest land use under other land. Now what is its GDP? Its GDP is 1391.25. So this region must have developed activities other than agriculture. If you look at this, why it has been developed? Because other than agriculture, it must have done a lot of other activities. That's why the GDP has increased. Now, question number 6 over here has been deleted. Now we come to the other table. That's primary, secondary and tertiary economic activities and regional development. Now you look at this. Before I come to this table, I would like to tell you all something about this Human Development Index, because I told you all initially that before I started, what is development? It is a process that creates growth, progress, positive change, and there were 4 indicators which I said. GDP, the 4 indicators of development are GDP, GNP, birth rate and death rate, and HDI, which I told you we all will learn later in the classes. HDI is nothing but Human Development Index. Now, what does this Human Development Index basically talk about? Human Development Index is an index. I'm going very slow so that you will understand, and I'll repeat it twice. Human Development Index is what? It is a statistical tool. It uses statistics. It is a statistical tool used to measure. What to measure? A country's overall achievement in totality, the overall achievement in its social, economic dimensions. See, both these aspects are very important. Social and economic dimensions, overall achievement in its social economic dimensions. These social economic dimensions are based on health of people, definitely human in development it's talking about. So the health of people, their level of education attainment, how they've attained education, the level what they've attained, and their standard of living. So it all surrounds closer to humans itself. So let's understand this again. I state the definition of Human Development Index. It is a statistical tool used to measure countries' overall achievement in its social and economic dimensions. These are based on what? The health of people, their level of education attainment, and their standard of living. Now, when I spoke about economic development and social development, what did that mean? There are 2 aspects of development which I had already told to you all. That was economic and social. Economic relates to the income of people. Social development relates to, or it includes education, health and public services. Now, Human Development Index. It measures key dimensions of human development. Key dimensions of it is related to humans itself, the development which is related to humans. Now, what are these 3 dimensions? Sorry, they are a long and healthy life. Now, when I talk about a long and healthy life, what do I mean? I mean by the life expectancy. How much is that population going to live for, or the average expectancy? Second, access to education. Now, access to education means, how do we measure this? It is measured by expected years of schooling of children. We have a standard set wherein the schooling is concerned, the primary, the secondary education, as well as the higher education. So the expected years of schooling of children at school entry age and mean years of schooling of the adult population. Mean years of schooling of the adult population. Third dimension of human development is a decent standard of living. Everybody needs, see, we all what we are doing is to have a decent and peaceful standard of living. That is measured by what? Gross national income per capita. Now, if you are an economics student or children who are into economics, they can very well understand. Your understanding needs to be at a very basic level. At what exactly do these terms mean? And how do they relate to the geography or the topic what we are studying in geography. So it is measured by gross national income per capita adjusted for the price level of the country. So over here also I spoke to you all about the definition. I told you all what does human development index mean and the three dimensions which I repeat: a long and healthy life. First dimension measured by life expectancy. Access to education measured by expected years of schooling of children at school entry age and mean years of schooling of the adult population. The third and the last dimension is a decent standard of living of Human Development Index. It is measured by gross national income per capita adjusted for the price level of the country. Now we come to this table. Now what does this table say? This table is telling us, it's talking about table 7.6, regions A, B, C, D and E, the contribution of primary sector. So the GDP percentage of the primary sector, that's 1, 2, 2, 6 and 14. That's for the year 2018 if you look at it. Then the contribution of secondary sector to GDP percent, in percentage terms, it is 34, 32, 37, 33.2 and 30. The contribution of the tertiary sector, service sector, where the GDP is calculated percentage wise, 65, 66 and 61, 60.8 for D and 56 for E. Then we go to the last one, that's Human Development Index. Now this Human Development Index, as I explained, this is the reason I explained for this table. What does this mean? So it's a Human Development Index for 2018, region A is 0.93, for B is 0.85, C is 0.71, D is 0.81 and E is 0.65. Now there are various questions over here. These questions are deleted. So over here there are various questions related to it. In which region is contribution of primary activities the least? In which region is the contribution of primary activities the most? In which region is contribution of tertiary activities the most? Which region has the highest HDI? And can you draw a conclusion on the basis of the answers from question 1 to question 4? All the questions which you will be solving from question 1 to question 4, can you draw a conclusion? Now, as we'll go ahead, we'll tackle one by one. In which region is contribution of primary activities the least? Now look at table number, the table, this first column, 2018, where primary sectors is there, A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 2, 6 and 14. That's the table I'm talking about. Now in region A, if you look at it, the contribution of primary activities is the least. Then In which region is contribution of primary activities the most? In region E, that is 14 in that column if you see. In which region is the contribution of the tertiary activities the most? Go to the third column, tertiary activities. Look at the percent, 65%, 63, 66, sorry, 61, 60.8 and 56. So over here, which region has contributed the most? That's region B has contributed the most. Which region has the highest HDI? Highest HDI, go to column, the last column, A, B, C, D, E, 0.93, 0.85, 0.71, 0.81 and 0.65. If you look at the numbers, you will understand the region A has the highest GDP, HDI, sorry. So, now what conclusions can we draw? As I explained to you all about HDI, it's a statistical tool and it studies certain things. Now, if you look at this, the Human Development Index is high in countries where the contribution of, look at secondary sector and the tertiary sector, where the contribution of these two sectors is more, the Human Development Index is high in these countries as compared to the primary sector. Primary sector is all agricultural related. Now, if you can think of it, the sectors, you will understand what I'm trying to say. So, the GDP is high when it is compared to these secondary and tertiary factors. Over here, if you see, the contribution of primary sector to GDP in region E is more, but it is less as compared to other regions. So the region E is in developing stage. Basically, region E is in developing stage. So these all conclusions, one or two more conclusions I would want you all to come up with, so that you all can understand that how to answer certain questions related to these regions or these kinds of tables when they come to the exam in a much better way. So what all we've concluded today, we are going to understand that. Now look at the geographical explanation, what this says. These three types of activities that are carried out in any region. Three type of activities, which are those primary, secondary and tertiary, carried out in a region, give an idea about the regional development. Definitely now you get a brief idea of that. It is generally seen that the regions are developed if they contribute more in tertiary sector. Tertiary is the service oriented, providing service, and depend less on primary activities. This one clear understanding we have, that tertiary sector contribution, or the secondary sector, as I said earlier, contributes more to the Human Development Index. There are various indices like the Human Development Index which are used to access various aspects of development in a region. This is one way of identifying or to know about the development happening in a particular region. Generally, tertiary activities contribute more to the income of the region. When you look at this, look at the growth. If you look at the table, you look at the tertiary sector. So how much growth has happened, or how much percent it contributes to the development of a region, you'll understand. So the tertiary activities generally contribute more to the income of the region, and hence more development is seen. So you can see that. Now suppose over here, um, all are India 60s in tertiary sector. So the contribution of the tertiary sector is 60% on an average if you look at it, and all the contribution in the secondary sector is in its 30s. So it's double of the secondary sector. Means these regions are developed regions. basically. The tertiary sector regions are developed. If you look at secondary and tertiary, it's 30 into 2 would give you 60, means it's almost double. So the tertiary sector plays a very important role. It contributes more so to the income of the region, and hence you can see development. That's the reason they have given this table for you to understand how development takes place from primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, and how tertiary sector contributes the maximum in the development of a region. Over here in this lecture or this class, what have we concluded is we've learnt about population and its relation to regional development. Then we've got to know about land use and the regional development. We got to know, understand the table as in how we can relate to different regions and compare regions amongst themselves related to the GDP, the Human Development Index. Then we lastly, we did primary, secondary and tertiary economic activities and their relation to the regional development.